Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Jump Up Supercast Game Club. It is me. I am the sensei of the group. My name is Brandon. I am the host. If this is your first game club ever, we are just like a book club, except for we're better because we play video games. Throw your books away, kids. Play video games. Don't tell your teachers I said that, or your parents, or anybody. Joining me today, I have the black belt of beam swords himself, Ills.
Goddamn right I am.
I got the yellow belt of nunchucks, Will.
Just upgraded from white belt, baby.
I got the purple belt of punching people in the nuts, Saf.
That's where the true weakness lies.
And I have the green-black belt, if that's a belt. I think it might be.
Green-white. Green-white is a belt.
Well, you know what?
Green-white.
Okay, listen, Ninja Master. All right? I have Noah, the all-supreme person that rips people's hearts out and eats them alive.
Kalima.
Turn this into fucking Indiana Jones for like martial
We
arts.
went in a lot of different directions with that intro. I respect that.
We did. And speaking of a lot of different directions, like left and right,
Okay. All right.
Nice.
we played a
Masterful.
little game where people come at you from the left and the right, one finger death punch.
True.
Shit. We did?
Saf, you picked one finger death punch. You picked it last week
Yes,
for
I
us to
did.
play. Not last week, 2 weeks ago. But so we all played this game, and One Finger Death Punch was released all the way back in 2013 on the Xbox 360, part of the Xbox Arcade, and it was developed by Silver Dollar Games and published by Silver Dollar Games because it's a little indie game.
Yeah,
Back when this indie games weren't as huge as they are now, but Xbox Live Arcade was a good place for a lot of indie games back then. And
Well, the weird thing was that it was a separate storefront. There was the arcade, and then there was a
Yes.
separate tab that was the indies, and that was things that were supposed to be like $1 or less in general.
Yeah.
Is sort of where it was positioned.
there was some bad games in there.
Yeah, I loved the Xbox Live indie thing because I loved seeing what weird games were made, and I recognized a couple that these guys made, such as Try Not to Fart
Classic.
and
damn, I see.
No Luca No, a game about trying to keep your cat from stealing your bowl of cereal. There's,
Oh, I remember that one.
yes,
I play that game every day in real life.
it's fair.
Why would your cat try to steal cereal?
And
trying to
my
knock the
cat,
bowl off.
there's one
Yeah.
guarantee about my cat is if I start pouring a bowl of cereal, she will be, no matter where I think she is in the house, she will be right behind me in like seconds.
Need to learn to discipline it.
Nothing
My cat
personal.
doesn't do that.
Too cute. But yes, so this game was also eventually released on other platforms such as PC, on Windows, also on Android and iOS eventually, in 2015. So I think we all played this game on Steam. I could be wrong, but I think we did.
Yep.
I did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, I think it was on sale for like 99 cents or something, very cheap.
Yeah, at the time.
You picked a good time to play this game because it was extremely cheap when I bought it.
Oh yeah.
One Finger Death
Like
Punch.
$1 for sale, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was on it's like 70% off, and I was like, oh damn, all right, this is a good time.
Damn, I bought this like 5 weeks ago, and it was like full price.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
same
like
here.
$5, so it's not that still not that bad.
I want my $4 back, Saf.
You enjoyed it.
Did I?
One Finger Death Punch. It's a beat 'em up video game. It's not necessarily your standard beat 'em up though, right?
Nope.
And I actually want to mention Silver Dollar Games. It's just two guys in Canada, by the way. So
Yeah.
just two dudes made this game. So we'll get into that
Pretty
more.
much.
But this game's not your standard beat 'em up. You have two buttons. So as what the game says, one finger death punch, you can play this game using just one finger. You don't ever have to press the control pad or anything.
Never move the character.
You never move your own character. Your character moves basically by himself. You have two directions, left and right. There's enemies coming from both sides. Once they get into, I guess, a little zone,
The range, yeah.
in range of you, you can press. It depends on what you do. If you're using a mouse, you can press left or right click. If you're using a controller, you press X or B if you use an Xbox to punch on either left or right side of you. And that's really it. You just wait for the enemies to come to you, and you just press the button at the corresponding times, and you're a little stick figure man, and you just beat the shit out of people.
Yep. It is a rhythm game.
No, it is
Well,
definitely
it's not
not
a
a
rhythm
rhythm game.
Even the game itself says it's not a
Yeah.
rhythm game.
But it has a rhythm game type feel.
It
doesn't
does,
yeah.
yes.
There's
Yes.
like a timing to it. I mean, the most of the information I have about the game just comes from the little tips at the bottom because there's
Yeah.
not a lot of information elsewhere online.
No.
But they sort of mention it when they're like, this is like kind of a rhythm game, but there's no music, so it's not really, right? So
Yeah.
like there is music.
Well, there is
playing,
music, but it's not
to the beat.
Not
of the music.
built to the rhythm of the
Right,
music
right,
to press the
exactly.
buttons. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
can't
but it's-
button mash in that game. You get punished heavily for it. You have to
Yeah.
time it properly.
Yes.
That's the tutorial. The very first thing can tell you is don't mash. Like this is you can't.
There is stages where I do recommend mashing.
Yes, that is the trick.
But yeah, it's not. It does punish you if you are button mashing, aimlessly pressing buttons. You have to time those buttons. So in a way, you there is a rhythm to pressing the buttons, just not a rhythm to in the music. You kind of get in the zone when you're playing it, having to press the buttons at the right time, and that's really all you're focused on. Sometimes you lose track of you kind of don't look at what's going on. You just more focus on what do I have to press, X or B.
Yeah.
That's really all you're focused on. And
Yeah, and the cool thing about games like this is like once you get into that rhythm, like you really feel like you're in the game. Like you really feel like you're, reacting perfectly to everything that's coming at you.
Yeah, it feels
killing,
good.
You're
It does.
killing enemies like lightning fast. People are like like there's enemies with multiple hit bars, so they like dodge left and right to you. So you're like catching them whenever they move to the other side. Catching
Yeah.
hitting every beat basically.
I guess it's worth mentioning. The
Yeah.
whole game is kung fu themed, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the whole idea. Is that's supposed to sort of be like old movies where like 10 guys are coming at them and you're dodging and beating guys with one hit, and like as you're sort of standing there waiting for them to come at
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
like the Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan, where he just takes on like a mob of dudes, just one man.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
I think this. You mentioned like how it makes you feel good. Like this game does make you feel like a badass. Like it goes above and beyond to make you feel like a real badass when it comes to like beating up these guys and just completing these levels. And there are a lot of items in this game that like adds to like the feeling of just powerfulness that you get when you actually go through that level.
Yeah, like every hit that you land, if it feels like it has a weight to it, and then they give you like weapons, and then they give you like the ball that you can kick if you use the right time. You can kill everything in like one hit.
I like the
ball.
weapons.
I love the ball
Yeah.
so
The
much.
ball is amazing.
The ball is
so
so
amazing.
great.
They also, I mean, part of it is that, we should mention also the aesthetic. Like, you have the intro where it's loading, where it's like a bunch of really weirdly rendered, like, drawings that are clearly based off real pictures of, like, people doing martial arts. But in the actual game itself, everyone's stick figures, right?
Yeah.
I mentioned to Brandon, I think, there's that old Flash cartoon, animated versus animated. It has very much that sort of vibe to it, of just, like, these stick figures doing, like, kung fu, right?
Insane
Like,
shit.
attacking.
Yeah. That's what all I was thinking too when I was
Yeah,
playing
me
it,
too,
was that,
yeah.
too. It's like, man, I've seen this is taking me back to 2010 YouTube when there was all these like stick figure fight videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are super cool.
This is a problem that really pervades any of these games, right? Where you are focusing on like things coming at you basically down a bar, because you have the enemies and then like the little boxes beneath them show you how many hits it takes to kill them, and if they're going to swap back and forth. Basically, is that like there were a lot of times where I would sort of be clicking and only ever see the bars and not notice anything that was happening above it, because especially in the later rounds, because you have to be focusing on sort of that is where the information comes in, not necessarily the enemies and like the actions you're doing up top.
Yeah.
But they take moments, and they even say in the instructions, like they have these moments where you'll have little special kills, like say you have a weapon, you'll impale them on the weapon or something like that, and those are like moments to breathe and also to look at what's happening up top.
Or you do a special dodge, or you knock someone's heart out of their chest, or
or you get the Mortal Kombat slowdown where it shows their bones breaking.
yeah.
The
But
X-ray of it, yeah.
But it's all like, with it just being these like simple stick figures, it's all obfuscated enough to where it's not like, it doesn't feel that violent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cartoonish, but it's it's very gory, but cartoon gore.
I wouldn't call it gory, but yeah.
Well, you're slicing their heads are flying off, but stuff like that. But they're stick figures, so it's it's very cartoonish. Like you can get away with and not feel guilty about letting an 8 or 9-year-old playing this game. Really,
I never feel guilty. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
What's this game rated, by the way? I never even looked that up. I'm actually
I don't know if did the ESRB rate all Steam games? Is that a thing?
I don't know actually.
I don't think they were rated on the Xbox Live Arc indie store, so I don't know.
Yeah.
This is pretty weird thinking about it now, but and they have little permutations throughout of like different things, right? But we already mentioned a couple. So it's not just like the big. I think the default ones are the mob rounds, right? Where it's just here's 200 enemies, you have 10 health.
Yeah.
Beat them all up.
Yeah. So. There's a lot of different rounds, but yeah, that's the basic one is the mob rounds. Just you have to survive X amount of enemies until the end.
And when you're going through the main, the level stages, the main campaign of this game, they add a lot of variety to it. Like you have like a beam sword, you have nunchucks, you have time matches, you have the multi-stage matches, whereas like you have like a bunch of your health chucked off. But you have to fight 4 different rounds of enemies, which is pretty cool. Like they do
the lightning round, the retro round.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they take away the colors.
Yeah. They do spend a lot of time. Well, they do make an effort of just making this more varied and more different, and they attempt to just try and make sure that the experience doesn't get stale.
Yeah.
I do like how you use the word attempt and make an effort in there.
Yes.
Yeah. Because that's the most important thing, I think.
Yeah. They do try, and I feel as though like I remember it was making that one point, and I totally agree with him. It's like near the end, it's kind of shit, but I feel as though like given the way this the levels play out, this feels it feels much better playing on like mobile devices. Like it feels much more appropriate for those types of games. So it's like if you're on a handheld, you can just pick it up and play a couple of levels and just be on your way.
And then put it back down, because if you try to play too many, if you try to play like over 20 minutes or like over a half hour, you get tired of it pretty fast.
Yeah.
Especially near
Like
the
you
end.
get burnt out a lot.
Yeah.
Especially near the end, where it's like every stage is like 200
200 enemies in a level. Like Jesus.
It's like,
And if you fucking die, you have to do it over again. It's like fuck.
It really starts dragging.
but around the middle of the game, I feel like that's the sweet spot where it's not the stages aren't too long and there's a lot of variation between each one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's also
I
when they're
felt
throwing a lot of the new stuff at you in general.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're giving you all these abilities. We got to talk about the abilities, but yeah, that was like my favorite part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, with the abilities, we didn't really mention them, but there are, some abilities that you get throughout the game that you can equip 3 at a time. They add you some extra stuff. Like, for example, one of my favorite ones was when you get a bow and arrow, you get 3 shots instead of just the 1.
Oh yeah, that
so
and
good.
the dagger. You get 3 daggers instead of 1 too.
Those are
And those
very
one-hit
helpful.
enemies.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
one-hit.
And I always had those active. I never took them off.
No,
Yeah.
neither did I. They were fucking useful.
Yeah.
Well, I
there's
had the 3 arrows one. I think that's like one of the first ones you get.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had that one for pretty much the whole game, and then later on I got the deep impact one where like after you kill 30 enemies, he jumps into the air and then crashes down and does like a shockwave and kills everything on the screen.
Yeah.
That one was pretty dope. And
those are cool, and I think you mentioned it, Ills, that one of the problems with those abilities is that they just activate as soon as you hit a threshold of
you
killing
can't
enemies.
tell when you can't control when you activate it, and you can't really tell when you have it. Like it's hard to tell because when you're in the middle of the action, it's hard to. They have a counter at the bottom of the screen, but it's hard to look over there when you're
you're too focused on like the middle of the screen, focusing on what buttons to press.
Yeah.
That you can't really look anywhere else on the screen, otherwise you get distracted and get out of your mentality.
Yeah.
or
your rhythms,
quote unquote.
and you'll miss.
It's
you'll miss
interesting
it.
because
Yeah.
the game ranks you on two different metrics. It ranks you on just there's perfect or not perfect, which basically means did you ever get hit, and then there's miss. And misses is how they give you like a bronze, silver, gold, or in platinum.
Or
if you don't miss
platinum.
any. Yeah. And so like it is interesting, I think, because most of the time you would think they would equate damage with just instead of misses, you would just have that all be one thing, like how many times you get hit. But I think they really the miss being the metric, I think really is pushing home the whole idea of don't mash, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
don't be going wild with it unless you're
Well, it was pretty dumb because sometimes like it's not your fault that you miss.
Yeah.
Because like this guy is like about to come in range, but then like this flying weapon comes at like in range as well. So like you try like you're ready to press to kill the enemy, then all of a sudden just before he enters the bar, like you're so focused on getting ready to press the button, the weapon enters, you press it, and you think, okay, I got him, and then I'll switch to the other side because there's another guy like right on my tail.
Yeah.
But you didn't actually kill the guy; you grabbed the weapon instead, and then he get hit. So it's like, what the fuck?
and it's I mean also the slowing down and starting up that we mentioned earlier, like to show the kills, also messes with that a little bit too. Like, there'll be some times where like if you get a big kill on an enemy, sort of other enemies will take a step back, which is cool because it creates space that way. It doesn't feel like you're getting encroached on. But then like sometimes I'll be like, boom. Okay, let me go get this other guy, but because I got the big kill by accident, the other guy will step out of my range, and I'll miss the perfect because of that.
And then there's another one too. I think I complained about where sometimes it'll activate and it will just be like you'll be just do a rapid punch on one enemy and it's like tap X. So you're like okay, I want to tap X as fast as I possibly can to rack up those hits, but then it will just stop and you're in the midst of tapping X. You don't know when it's going to stop, and then you get a miss.
Yeah.
That happens a lot in the bosses, especially. I think.
Bosses, and then you get punished for it because they hit you right after, and you're like, well, I mean, I want to hit as much damage because they have a life bar on the bosses, and I want to get as many hits in as I can, but then you get punished for recklessly tapping the button.
With those two things, like the last two things that you mentioned, I didn't really find that much of a bother. Like I could adapt it. Like the whole like kill thing allowed me to like take the entire screen in and like be able to understand the situation. Like it was easy to get used to, and with those couple of things, like I didn't find it. I found it bad initially, but then I just got used to it. Like I kind of adapted to it and like understood it better. Like with the mashing the button as well, whereas like even though it was timed more than it was actually like number of hits you had to do, so I just kind of like did it like 2-3 hits and then waited for it to run out, and it just went on my normal ass-kicking fucking adventure.
Well, sure, but you want to also try to get as many.
Yeah, but it's like when there's a big fucking thing that says 3 hits, mash now. Like you want to mash, you don't want to go like hit, hit.
No, I totally
hit.
agree with you, but
Is
like
it still there? Hit.
Yeah.
I mean, even I just wish that maybe there was like because the bosses sort of do come and go in a lot of ways, right? I mean, if there was just even like like Donkey Kong Country Returns and Tropical Freeze when you beat the boss, right? The part where you just mash and just beat him up a whole lot, like just a moment where you feel like you can let loose and just go crazy. I think would have been cool.
Yeah.
Or at least like
They have
show a
that
counter,
sometimes.
like how many hits you potentially can get in if you mash fast enough.
Yeah.
You know? So like if you see like you can hit 10 times and like counts down, so you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, a
like
timer
that kind
would
of
be
thing.
perfect. Yeah.
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 Now, I think that a lot of the things that pervade this, though, when I was reading the tooltips, and they mentioned, hey, this won a game jam back in, like, 2012 or whatever, right? And a lot of it sort of made sense. Where, like, this is very much a game jam game. If you know what that is, basically, they will have these events where a bunch of devs come together. They have 48 hours to come up with an idea and do a basic, like, implementation of the idea and make a game in a weekend, basically, right? And this makes sense when you look at it that way, both the aesthetic of the stick figures being designed to be sort of simple, and then like it said it won, and so they probably said, okay, let's take this idea and expand upon it. And there was some moments where like it felt like they were almost overreaching in a way that like they didn't have to, right? Like there was some, like just from the beginning, there's you only have easy unlocked, right? You can't not do normal and hard until you beat easy.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
That's something else. I definitely want to
Yeah,
do that.
I'm never gonna go back to the master and
No.
grandmaster levels. It's like I was already burnt out with the easy, well, quote unquote student mode. So
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
No. if they, I don't know. I assume they're gonna be like faster speeds and more enemies. So I'm just like, no.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, if you were playing on mobile and you had nothing else to play, I
Yeah.
would see myself playing, on the harder
Yeah.
modes. or
If you're
something
on
like
your
that.
commute to work and you
Yeah,
play
yeah.
the game,
Yeah.
and,
But
why
it's,
not?
it's the same exact map. It's like not new
Yeah,
new
that's
levels
the
either.
thing.
So it's
Noah
like,
and I, so when we first started playing this game, we were just like really confused because the way it's presented, I thought, with the other two ones being locked, the student, master, and grandmaster, I thought, okay, there's going to be a set of stages. Those are going to be the student stages. Once I finish those, then I'll unlock the next set of stages, which would be the master ones and so on. But no, it got to a point where I was like, damn, there seems to be a lot of student stages, because at first, through the first half of the map, you're still kind of unlocking, they're threw new stuff at you, like new types of levels. So you think, okay, maybe I'm still learning stuff, but no, it's really, that's just the first difficulty and you can't go on until you beat the game, which once I realized it, I was like, all right, fuck it. Who cares now?
And it's a real big map. Like, it's way bigger than I thought it was gonna be. Like, holy shit.
A very aesthetically strange map. It's very
True.
There's like
Very
5
likely.
assets that make up all of it. I looked at the mountain range and I was like, oh, this is just a bunch of triangles. The same one like 100 times. Which, I mean, it's fine. For what it is, I wasn't like super mad at it. It made me laugh mostly.
I love it.
No, but it's weird that there's like branching paths and like you don't really
Yeah.
know which way is the right way to go
Yeah.
Oh,
until
yeah,
you
that
just
is-
keep going as far as you can.
Sometimes like once again around the middle of the map, which I think is where the game is good, like it branches way more, but there'll be these little side paths where you can go and get skills, and I
Yeah.
thought that was cool, like these little, maybe going down these side paths to make it easier in the long run by getting different things you can equip. But then towards the end, there would be random branches that's like, these are mostly identical, except this one has like a time round, and this one has like a break the items round.
Yeah.
Right.
And those are basically the same, like, I mean, in terms of like out of 7 out of 8 of these are identical, there's one that differs on each
That's
path.
the thing. It's almost all the rounds, although they try to be, oh, this is different. They all are really the same when you get down to it.
Yeah, because the game itself is very, very simplistic. and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the one I hated the most was the timed rounds. Because
Yeah,
that throws
I didn't like
everything that
those.
you know about the game out the fucking window.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because-
I kind of like the time runs, like, because it made you do the actions you had to do faster. Like those enemies with the complex, combinations that you had to do, you just had to be more on point with it. So I
Well,
kind of
I did that. I also, one other thing I did is like whenever I saw them that needed the multiple hits and that would die side to side, I would just always go for the ones that wherever available to kill the ones that get killed in one hit, and like just let them build up on one side, whatever ones that need it. And once I get like a weapon, like a bow or dagger, then I'll fucking one shot them.
that's a good strategy. I mean, that's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
I passed them all by just button mashing.
Yeah, they throw the health bar out the window for those, which is
Yeah.
means you can just sort of go wild at it.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't even notice that there was no health bar. What the
No, there
Well,
is.
no, there
Pretty
is.
sure there is.
Oh.
But you have
I-
10 hits, and I would be like, who cares? All right, let's do this. They're throwing the enemies at me fast enough where it doesn't even matter. So I can just hit the button as fast as I possibly can. Just boom, 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 just hit XP, 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 just nonstop. And I would pass the round and get hit like a couple times. I'd have a bunch of misses, but like
Yeah.
I didn't care. I was like, whatever, who cares? I'm not trying to 100% this game. If I was, I would be killing myself right now.
Also, I think from what I saw in the credits that like a lot of the music that in the game is taken from other sources, and I recognize some of it because it is just
is
I
it?
think 2 guys. Yeah, at least some of the songs I definitely like thought
I
were
was gonna say,
from.
the music is very
libraries.
cool.
Yeah, that was the surprising part. Like, cause they only did one part of this game really, really well, and the rest it felt like kind of like slapped together in the cheapest way possible. And for whatever reason, the music was actually pretty decent. It was kind of surprising compared to the rest of the game.
Well, now we know they didn't actually make
gotta-
music.
they gotta
They took
put
it from
my-
already existing pieces.
Though I have to say, I think this is worth mentioning because while I was looking up stuff about this game, One Finger Death Punch 2 is coming in like 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Yes.
I looked at, and like a lot of the things that I have problems with, like they seem to be genuinely expanding on the core idea in ways that are gameplay changes, right? Like in this game, there's different styles that you'll like start using, and it changes your animations, right? You'll have the drunken fist, which is you're like swaying back and forth, and you know, like that's the whole thing. Like in the second one, it's like like you'll actually have different abilities and things depending on the style that you bring into each level.
Yeah.
So it's not just a visual thing, it's like a gameplay thing. And you know, there's a bunch of clear expandings on the ideas, and that I think I'm interested to see too. I probably won't pick it up when it comes out, but at some point maybe I'll go to it down the line because I think that there was a good idea here. It's just there wasn't enough. They stretched it too thin,
wasn't
I think,
fleshed
a little
out
bit.
enough, basically.
Yeah.
It wasn't that. That was yeah. It's literally one of those things. It's like it's clear that they didn't have like the resources to actually make the game that you would expect the average indie game to be in terms of like design wise, in terms of presentation wise.
Yeah.
But
I mean, back when this came out, this was kind of like the average indie game, wasn't it?
2013, it was Braid was 5 years beforehand.
yeah,
Like it was, I feel
Braid-
like 20.
But
you
Braid
know,
is
like
kind of like an exception to the
Transistor
rule
came out in
at that
2013
point.
at the same time. You know.
Oh well, then never mind.
like, there was kind of like a standard or like an expectation at that stage.
Yeah. Which I mean, and this game is priced in a way that is clearly saying that it's not trying to compete in that same place, right? And like, the thing I did like was at the ending, one of the guys puts himself on screen and is like, "Hey, me and my brother or my buddy, I forget if it's who either one, is like, we made this game. We know it's not super great graphically. We know that you know all these other stuff, but we appreciate you willing to give a shot to a game that you may not have heard of otherwise, right?" And like, I did appreciate that sentiment because there are a lot of people
Yeah.
that are
Transistor
really
came out in
like that.
2014. You liar.
Oh,
Talking
on
about.
Steam. Transistor.
It came out on
On
the
Steam,
Xbox.
it was
Oh, Transistor.
2014. Yeah.
Wow.
Exposed.
It was announced. We had seen it. We had seen it at the PlayStation unveil.
Dweeb. All right. Never mind.
Still, I mean, the point is, I mean, there was, you know, Braid. I don't know when Limbo came out, but I think it might have came out before that too.
It was like 20. Limbo was like 2010 or 2011, I think.
Super Meat
Yeah, it
Boy,
was very
stuff
early.
like that. No, really understand the point. But it was like
Yeah.
the game. Overall, the game was actually really fun. Like even though,
Yeah.
like if you like played it in short bursts, you would have a
You
lot
have to
more.
say, yeah. You have to, that's the trick. You have to
Yeah.
play in short bursts.
Yeah.
Definitely in short bursts.
It's definitely
I
something that
didn't-
you would actually come back to and enjoy. And like I feel so like there are people who would actually love the challenge of this game. I would not be surprised if people stick around and like for the sake of like actually getting better at it and like challenging themselves. Like the main part of the game, the one that they were trying to do, like or they were focusing on the most, they actually nailed it pretty well in my opinion.
Yeah,
you know-
I mean, the mechanics are solid, you know, and I definitely see the appeal. And it is really fun. When I first was playing it, I was like, oh, this is a really, really fun time. But because, you know, I mean, it might just be because of what we're doing here. We got to cram, you know, these games in 2 weeks, so we want to finish them as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And a game like this really just drags on you after a while when you're playing it for a couple hours.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, if you try to play it straight through, I mean, it's not a good idea to do that. But
Like
also-
I had to like stop like every half hour, every 40 minutes. I couldn't keep going.
Yeah.
It was just dragging too much.
Because of live stuff, I like sat down and I was like, okay, I got 40% of the map to go through at like 11 o'clock last night, so I can record this today. And like, I was looking down the stretch of those last 5 levels, and I was like, my hand's starting to cramp. I have to do it though. And like, I was, you know, and I was like, man, I should have paced this out better. So yeah, I mean, but that's the thing that only exists for us and the obligations that we have, you know, of getting it done in the 2 week time frame. So
I mean, in the larger, I mean, with every like games journalist thing, not that we're journalists, but like, there's always like this kind of push and pull with like the length of the game and how frustrating you get with it because you're trying to hit a deadline.
Yeah.
So I mean, you always have to keep that in the back of your mind, not to judge
Hold
a
it
game too
against
harshly
it.
if there's
Yeah.
Definitely.
if there's like slow bits, you know. So
yeah, just never go longer than like 30 minutes. I think in a single session.
No, definitely not.
not in this game,
Definitely
definitely.
Yeah.
Not, yeah.
No, that I would not. 0 out of 10 would not recommend that suggestion. Go. I mean, if you want to play this game at straight through, do not do it. Get it.
Isn't that what you
I
did?
agree with Saf at the beginning. Get it on mobile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus,
I think-
well, that'll be 2 fingers though, probably.
No, it's one. You just move your finger
The
around.
thumb.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like with the computer, it was like left
Oh,
click and
maybe.
right click. So I used my index and my middle finger. So it was like two.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I feel like if I did it with single finger, I would actually have a much harder time.
You know what?
I played it on Xbox with one finger.
That's
Oh, because you said the thumb.
that's the disappointment that I have with the sequel, that they didn't call it Two Finger Disc Punch.
Oh
Like,
god.
that would have worked so well.
You know, they should
They
have.
should have done it.
They still have time. They might listen to this.
Doubtful.
Maybe.
That's a good suggestion. Maybe they'll make an expansion called Two Finger Death
And it's
Punch.
multiplayer online.
Oh,
Ooh.
Oh,
That
shit.
could be interesting.
That would. I don't know how.
that would not work.
I don't know. That's their thing to figure out. We give them the name, they figure out everything else.
Well, we did the hard part
Yeah.
at least, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So, guys, time for recommendations. Gonna start with Saf. Saf, you picked this game.
I would only
Would you recommend it?
Yeah.
And I don't think I gave you the chance earlier. So why don't you also talk about maybe why you picked this game? Because I think I forgot to tell have you talk about
Oh.
that. So talk about why you picked it and would you recommend it after playing.
Oh, I was just listening to rap music. I found this song, and this song was associated with this trailer, One Finger Death Punch. I was like, okay, I like the song. I want to see what this trailer is about. Watched the trailer and just saw this stick figure doing all these cool ass kung fu moves. I was like, yeah, I want to try this game out. That's pretty much it. That's the entire backstory.
Yeah, that's all you
Do
need.
do you know the song?
Yeah, it's Kung Fu You. That's the name of the song. I can't remember who sung it. But that's the name of the song. I like.
Well, whoever you are out there, thanks for giving that Saf the inspiration.
B-Boss. B-Boss, that's the artist.
Okay. So would you recommend this
I would
game?
recommend it if they're going to play it on handheld or like a mobile device. Like, that would be the best way that would be the best way about playing this game. Like, that's the only way I would recommend it. Or if you're going to play on consoles, you can do that. Just pace yourself. That's all.
Yeah, fair enough. Also, I kind of want to say one thing real quick. Silver Dollar Games, if you ever listen to this, maybe you should try to get this game on the Switch, because playing it on a handheld, I think it could work pretty good, Switch. I think if you put it on there for a pretty cheap price, you'd sell a lot. Mm-hmm. I think.
Yeah,
Maybe.
probably work.
Maybe worth looking into. Maybe the second one, come to the
$1 Switch games. They do well. Bouncy
Switch.
Bob.
They do. Yeah, exactly. And that game's not even good. And this one, at least is good. So, at least give it a thought. Will, would you suggest this game? Would you recommend it? Sorry.
I'm going to say no, but with a caveat that we're only like 2 months away from the sequel, which looks to be an improvement. So maybe just wait until then, and then if that looks good and looks to be a genuine improvement, pick up that, because if it's just an upgrade, why not play that one instead?
Good point. Good point. Ills.
I say yeah. If the person in question likes rhythm games or timing games, it's pretty cool. I really like the lightsaber rounds or light sword
Oh,
rounds.
no, so great.
I thought that was pretty sweet, and yeah, there's a good amount of variation in the middle. So yeah.
Okay. Noah.
Yeah, again, just pretty much what Saf said. Just play it in like short bursts. If you have like 5 minutes to kill, pull it out, play it. It's fun.
I agree. If you get this game for as cheap as we did, definitely. I don't say I wasted 99 cents, that's for sure. I still had a lot of fun. I just have to pace myself a little bit better. I would have had probably a little bit more fun. But the game does make you feel like a genuine badass playing it, so I would give
One
it a
thing,
shot.
like, I don't know if we mentioned these enemies, but like some rounds, again, like one of the winning points for me that I really liked as well was there was certain, like, apart from like the different types of enemies, like you had to like do multiple hits on, there were like these mini bosses with the crowns on top, and
brawlers.
once you like
Oh, yeah.
start a fight with them, you have to go through like a whole button sequence. And like I've really found those fun. Like you have to press like right click 3 times and 2 times left click, then right, like they show up on the screen as you're fighting them. So you have to
Right.
like quickly, and if you miss, obviously you get hit, but then the fight still continues.
I love that.
But like it was really fun, like trying to go through those really fast. It'd be like 3 right punches, 2 lefts, 1 right, and then 5 lefts, and then you kill them. It's really fun.
Those are pretty fun.
Yeah, when you get those perfectly right, you feel good.
Yeah.
You feel like
And it shows,
feel like
and
a
actually
badass.
says like on the screen, it's like perfect when you actually
Yeah.
land it. It's really good.
Like, the game does a good job patting you on the back and making you feel really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, fellas, it's time to move on. And I kind of, because this is the first one of the new year, like we did on the last first regular podcast of the new year, I think it's the time to explain what the list is a little bit. We have a list that we add these games to that we play. We play a game club game, we add it to a list.
That you can follow in the paste bin.
Yes, we have in the description, there is a paste bin link. You can click on that. It's a Jump Up Supercast game list. We add games in order of what we think are from the top, the best, to the worst, all the way in the bottom. And now it's not the best games of all time. It's just the games that we've added so far. On the regular podcast, we add a game a week. On the game club, we add whatever game we played. So, it's time, fellas, for the list.
List.
Saf, because you picked this game, take a look at the list and tell me where you think it belongs.
Well, I was going to put it down near somewhere around mid-60s. Like, I feel as though that would be the appropriate place. Like, it does one thing and it nails it, but the rest of it, they kind of just fall flat. Through no fault of their own,
Yeah.
but we're comparing it to...
It feels like very simplistic,
Yeah.
but like bare bones too.
Yeah.
Even though like they nailed the fucking combat.
Yeah,
But yeah.
so I feel so like
Yeah.
somewhere around mid-60s seems like a more appropriate place. Like, I want to put it above Nintendo Land. I don't know about you guys. You might want to put it low, and I
No.
wouldn't fight you on that. But yeah, but that's where I want to put it.
I was
I wanna-
looking above Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, exactly
Yeah.
right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I just
'Cause
played
East is
East.
simple, too.
I mean, I just finished East 1, and I feel like that game is miles better.
Yeah. East is
Yeah.
also a simple game, but I think there's way more surrounding it, and so I think that I would put it below East.
Okay, that's fine.
That's fair. I can't argue with that.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't like it. Like, but these are my opinions. Yeah. Like, but yeah, no, right about that area should be alright.
Well, fellas, I think we had one of our easiest decisions on,
Wow.
on this
That
in
was
a while.
quick.
Oh, we've had quite a few of them in the past podcasts.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, that seems very appropriate. We all agree on that one.
All right.
One Finger Death Punch on the list is number 67. If you're checking out the list, you can see that right above it, we've got, and we mentioned a little bit, number 65 is Nintendo Land. Number 66, we got East 1 Chronicles, another Game Club game that we played. So if you're interested in that game, go check that out. Also pretty good. Right underneath, well, we got One Finger Death Punch, number 67. And underneath that, we got Crash Bandicoot, the original. And number 69,
Nice.
The Simpsons Arcade.
classic bar.
Go check that out. That's also a Game Club episode. So if you are interested in that, that's available for you guys. But before we go, I just want to say that we are on social media. Make sure you check us out. I don't know what you're listening to us on right now, but give us a follow. Subscribe on SoundCloud and 5-star rate us on iTunes, because those are we host on SoundCloud. It's very important to us. And check us out on Twitter. Everything, all these social media is at Jump Up Supercast. So we got Twitter, where you can get live updates of when the episodes go up. We got Instagram. I post pictures and random memes and shit sometimes. We have Facebook. Also post the new episodes when they go up. So that's available for you guys too. And we have a Twitch at Jump Up Supercast. And I'm going to be playing, if you listen to the regular episodes, I got New Year's resolution. We all got assigned different games that we haven't played on the list yet, or played a little bit of, and we've got to go finish them. I'm going to be playing all the games that I got assigned, and I think maybe a couple of these other gentlemen might play some of their games too. And they might, we'll be in and out, popping on. Maybe we'll set a schedule. Who fucking knows? But follow us on social media if you want to find that shit out. Mm-hmm. But before we officially go, we got one more thing. It's time for the next game that we're going to be playing. We got to find out before we leave. Will, it's your turn, man.
It is. So I'll just get right to it. the game that I want to play for the Game Club next is Mystical Ninja starring Goemon for the Nintendo 64.
Okay.
Baby, correct me if I'm wrong. Is this our first Nintendo 64 game?
I think so.
No, win back.
Winback
No.
was PS2.
No, that's
Winback 1.
We played Win. No,
That was the other one.
That's not in the
Oh,
canon.
right.
It's not in the canon.
Yeah, this is.
I thought this was called Legend of Gomon.
Oh, that's that with that freaking Goku looking kid.
Yeah.
Is it with the I think he's supposed to be Kabuki inspired. I think the name varies on the region because it's like Ganbare Goemon in Japan. It's a bunch of different names, but it's a pretty early on 3D platformer. But a friend recently just linked me in DMs on Discord, like, "Hey man, do you remember the opening?" And I was like, "No," and he linked it, and it is a straight up anime opening in a video game in like 1997, but like using all the 3D models. And I think it's the guy that did the Dragon Ball theme singing. And I was like, I'm in. I want to play this video game. And what a better way to do it than through the Game Club.
Oh.
Well,
Oh, there's a
forward to
second Gomon game. It's called Legend of the Mystical Ninja. Wait,
yes,
is it?
there
I'm
is.
so confused.
There's multiple of them. There's actually one called Mystical Ninja starring Goemon on the Game Boy. Has the same exact name. It's a completely different game.
Yeah.
So, not to be confused. There's a lot of these games out there. But I'm very interested in this. It's a game that I've barely played. Like maybe
I've seen
rented.
this like recommended, like a bunch of people saying, "Oh, Goemon this, Goemon that." It's like I never got around to play it, so I was like, okay.
A game that's aggressively Japanese, I think. So I'll be.
Bring it
One
on. I
way to
love
put it.
All right. Well, we're going to play that game in 2 weeks. We will be back, and we will let you know what we thought about it. But until then, I just want to thank everybody. And also, Undertaker, 10-0 now for the Game Club. We beat 10. All of us have beaten 10 games in a row. Streak continues. Streak's still alive. If you give a shit. But we do. So thank you guys for joining me. Thank you, Saf. Thank you, Ills. Thank you, Noah. Thank you, Will, for picking another game for us. And thank you guys for listening. This is Brandon. We're going to go play some video games. You guys should do the same. And also be nice to everybody. Have an awesome day.